After 20 years in law enforcement, I finally purchased my dream lake cabin in Tennessee. The property included a private dock, 2,700 acres of beautiful woodland, and a breathtaking view of the lake. It quickly became my favorite place to relax after long shifts. Peace and privacy were everything I had hoped for. The nearby luxury HOA community frequently admired my lakefront property. Most residents respected my privacy and enjoyed the beautiful scenery. Unfortunately, one HOA president believed my cabin should be available for community use. That misunderstanding would soon create serious problems. The HOA president's son became particularly interested in my lake cabin and private dock. He openly told neighbors that my property would make the perfect community recreation area. Apparently, private ownership meant very little to him. I couldn't disagree more. One Saturday afternoon, several HOA members arrived at my cabin demanding access to the lake. They claimed the waterfront should be shared by everyone in the community. I politely explained that the property was privately owned. The discussion should have ended right there. Things escalated when the HOA president's son demanded the keys to my cabin and boat dock. He insisted that community residents deserved unrestricted access. Private property doesn't become public simply because someone wants it. Ownership still matters. Remaining calm, I introduced myself as a sheriff's deputy lieutenant with over 2 decades of law enforcement experience. Suddenly, the conversation became noticeably quieter. Property rights are something I take very seriously. The law applies equally to everyone. County property records clearly showed that my lakefront estate had no relationship whatsoever with the HOA community. Their authority ended at their own neighborhood entrance. My cabin was never part of any shared recreational agreement. The documents couldn't have been clearer. Several homeowners quickly realized they had been given inaccurate information regarding lake access rights. Most immediately apologized for the misunderstanding. Respect and communication resolved much of the conflict. Facts tend to do that. I installed additional private property signs around the dock and cabin entrance. Clear boundaries help prevent unnecessary disputes. Visitors are always welcome to admire the lake from public areas nearby. Permission simply matters. That's when I realized the story was never about a set of cabin keys. It was about understanding that private property deserves legal and personal respect. Owning a beautiful place doesn't obligate anyone to share it. Boundaries exist for good reason. The HOA president refused to accept that the lake belonged entirely to my property. She claimed generations of residents had admired the waterfront and deserved access. Unfortunately, admiration doesn't create ownership rights. Private property remains private property. Early the next morning, I reviewed the original property surveys and lakefront deeds. Every document confirmed that my family owned the entire shoreline surrounding the cabin. There was never any public access agreement attached to the property. The records spoke for themselves. Several residents admitted they were told that my private dock was available for community boating activities. They had trusted information provided by HOA leadership. Many were shocked after learning the truth. Honest communication quickly changed their perspective. I invited county land officials to verify the property's legal boundaries once again. Their inspection confirmed that the cabin, dock, and surrounding woodland belonged entirely to my estate. The HOA possessed absolutely no authority over my land. The matter was legally straightforward. The HOA president's son continued insisting that sharing the lakefront would benefit the entire neighborhood. He simply couldn't understand why ownership mattered so much. Property rights exist to protect everyone equally. That's one lesson every homeowner should know. Years of serving in law enforcement taught me that respecting boundaries prevents countless disputes. Whether it's public land or private land, permission always matters. The law doesn't become optional because someone feels entitled. Respect begins with understanding that principle. Local newspapers covered the unusual story of a neighborhood attempting to claim access to a private lake cabin. Readers throughout the county overwhelmingly supported private property rights. Communities function best when boundaries are respected. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Following the incident, I upgraded the security system surrounding the dock and cabin entrance. Modern surveillance cameras now monitor every access point 24 hours a day. Preparation is always worthwhile. Peace of mind is priceless. Several homeowners personally apologized for believing the HOA's version of the story. Most simply wanted good relationships with neighboring property owners. Respect often follows education. That's exactly what happened here. The HOA board officially announced that neighboring private properties would no longer be referenced in community materials. Their policies were updated immediately. Facts have a remarkable way of influencing decisions. Progress was finally being made. Peace gradually returned to my lakefront estate once everyone understood the legal boundaries involved. The dock once again became a quiet place to fish and enjoy nature. Retirement should be peaceful. That's exactly what I intended when I bought this property. My woodland trails remain open only to invited guests and close friends. Privacy has always been one of my property's greatest treasures. Some things simply aren't meant to become public attractions, and that's perfectly okay. Looking across a lake at sunset reminds me why respecting property rights matters so much. Every homeowner deserves the ability to enjoy their land without unnecessary interference. Ownership comes with both rights and responsibilities. Those rights deserve protection. The HOA president eventually acknowledged that her community had no claim whatsoever to my property. Once the facts became impossible to dispute, the disagreement quietly disappeared. Legal boundaries exist for a reason. Everyone benefited from understanding them. My cabin continues serving as the perfect weekend escape from the demands of law enforcement work. Fishing at sunrise remains my favorite part of every morning spent here. Quiet moments are difficult to replace. They are worth protecting. Since the incident, neighboring residents have become some of my property's greatest supporters. Respect created stronger relationships throughout the community. Good neighbors don't require shared ownership. They simply require mutual understanding. Every acre of my lakefront estate remains carefully maintained for future generations of my family. Preservation has always been one of my highest priorities. Some legacies are worth protecting. This property is certainly one of them. This experience reminded me that knowing your property rights is one of the greatest protections a homeowner can have. Knowledge and preparation make all the difference when disputes arise. Facts will always matter. Documentation is invaluable. Today, my cabin remains peaceful, secure, and exactly as I envisioned it years ago. The lake reflects the morning sunlight, while birds sing throughout the surrounding woods. Privacy truly is one of life's greatest luxuries. I'm grateful for every quiet moment here. The HOA learned that private lake cabins don't become community property simply because they're beautiful. I learned that respecting boundaries creates better neighbors and stronger communities. Property rights protected my family's lakefront legacy exactly as intended, and that's exactly how the story ends.